Pronouncing numbers correctly is going to be really important as we move forward. First of all, because it's the mathematically correct thing to do, but also because it's going to make turning fractions and decimals into each other significantly more simple when we get to that. So this video is going to focus mostly on pronouncing decimals, but I'll go over pronouncing whole numbers as well, just so that we are all on the same page. If you ever encounter a giant number like this, the commas are your friends. They separate things and help make pronouncing easier. What you do need to know is that this group of commas here is always going to represent thousands. This group of commas here is always going to represent millions. And this group of commas here is always going to represent billions. We can go farther into things like trillions and quadrillions, but we generally won't run into those numbers. The way that everything works out is that you read what's in between the commas. So we start with 49 billion, 722 million, 163,458. So every time you're reading these, you're reading things based on their comma groups and where their comma groups are located. When I was first learning to read numbers, I often just wrote the abbreviation of B for billions, M for millions, and TH for thousands. So it'd be 49,722,163,458. Something to make note of is that I never said and during any of this. And specifically means a decimal point. So it's really, really important that you don't say 458 or 102. And always means a decimal point. So I don't want to hear ands in the whole number part. One more quick example. Going from right to left, this is our standard group. It doesn't have a special thing that comes after it. 426, that's going to be the thousands, and after the thousands comes the millions. So this number is 139,426,785. And again, there was no and in there because there was no decimal point. All right, getting on to our decimals. When we have decimals, the decimal does a great job of splitting things up. It's actually almost more useful than a comma in terms of pronouncing things. You start with the front half. This front half we know is 142. No ands in there because the and comes next. So we have 142 and when we pronounce after the decimals, we say these numbers just like we would normally. So this one, if I didn't see a decimal in front of it, would look like a 13. And then the very last thing you have to do is notice where the last number of the decimal point is and what place value that's in. This one happens to be in the hundredths place value. So we end our number by saying hundredths, and that indicates that the last decimal point is in the hundredth spot. So this number is 142 and 13 hundredths. Here is a quick list of probably the farthest we'll be going out to decimal points. Most of the time we'll actually end our decimal points around here, but the others are good to know just because they follow a pattern. It's always thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, 10 billions, 100 billions. So it's a really recognizable and a simple pattern. If you already know these, go ahead and go on to the next slide. If these look a little bit less familiar and need a review, you probably want to pause the video and take a few notes so that you will remember these. All right, so just a few more examples. We start before the decimal. So this is 16, and then this number is pronounced 723. And then this last digit is in the thousandths spot. So it is 723 thousandths. Okay? 16 and 723 thousandths. So the circle matches up with the circle, the and matches up with the decimal point, and the box matches up with the box. Sometimes when our decimal points get longer and they're longer than just 3 digits after, it helps to separate things using temporary commas. Commas don't actually belong after the decimal point, but it can help you to pronounce things. So I'm going to put kind of a funky comma on top. So I'm imagining that this part doesn't exist and I'm only looking at this part right here. If I were to do that, this number would have a comma 3 places from the right. We always place our commas from the right, even if it's after the decimal point. So I have a funky looking comma up here because it's not real. There's no actual comma there, but it's there to help us remember our place values so that we can pronounce the number. So this number starts with 0 and this would be 4,627, and then this last decimal point is in tenths, hundredths, thousandths. This last decimal point is in the 10,000th spot, so we do 10 thousandths. It's important to remember that you don't have any extra ands. There should be one and in your whole entire decimal. Okay. One that's a little bit longer. Again, I would recommend placing a fake comma to help you pronounce. Our commas are always placed from the right, so 3 places over from the right we have a fake comma. Alright, so to start this off, the first part is called 219. Ooh, I spelled that wrong. 19. We have our decimal and this number right here. Because of this comma, I can tell that the 592 is in the thousands. So it would be in 592,643. And then what do we have? We have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. So we are at millions. 219 and 592,643 millions. Okay, this is the homework that I want you to do. It should be done on a separate sheet of paper, graph paper if you have it. Remember that you should have graph paper. We're in the second week of school now, so it shouldn't be an issue. What I want you to do is for numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're going to write out the pronunciation of the word like I've been doing in this video. And then for number 5, you're going to write it in number form. So you're probably going to want to pause so that you can do this homework, but there is one more question after this. So after you've paused and done these first 5 questions, don't forget to keep playing the video so that you can get the 6th and final question for today.